You tell me when you're ready. I want to call the Tennessee Real Estate Commission regular meeting for the month of November back into session. And I just wanted to let all of you who are in the audience know that today's proceedings won't be quite as interesting as yesterday's, so you may be disappointed. First on our agenda is an informal affiliate broker applicant appearance, an informal conference. Matthew D. Tankersley, applicant, and his principal broker, James Jim Walton. Would you two move up to the table?
Mr. Chairman, would you...
Commissioner Grease.
Would you tell the attendees what an informal hearing is or what it's designed to do?
An informal conference is a little different from a formal hearing like we had yesterday. An informal conference is a conference where usually an applicant that is making an application to get a license, real estate license in Tennessee, there's some things that we as a commission want to address and want to know more details about, and we have what's called occasionally an informal conference where the applicant, in this case Matthew Tankersley, and the principal broker, where he wants to put his license and go to work for that particular firm, they come and you're going to hear some testimony and some questioning, and we will render an opinion in this matter. But that's the difference between a formal hearing we had yesterday and an informal conference that we're getting ready to begin right now. And I'd now like to turn it over to our Executive Director, Ms. Eve Maxwell.
Mr. Tankersley is here.
Excuse me. Do we need to swear these?
Oh, yes.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Matthew D. Tankersley is here with his principal broker, Jim Walton, of the Dream Team Green Hills, doing business as Keller Williams. A little bit about the principal broker. He is, Mr. Walton has been a broker since 6/16 of 2009. He recently upgraded to become the principal broker of the Keller Williams office in Green Hills. The principal broker has no complaints against him and has completed his post-120 hours of education required after his broker. This Keller Williams office has, according to RBS, 104 affiliates and 13 brokers. Mr. Tankersley, the applicant, has tested for his affiliate broker license, and he's disclosed the following convictions to the Tennessee Real Estate Commission. When he was 18 years old, Mr. Tankersley was convicted of a felony B and a felony C. One was burglary, and the other was the unauthorized control of a propelled vehicle, which was a car. The events happened on 9/28 of 1999. Mr. Tankersley and some friends of his, who he later discovered to be really the wrong crowd of friends, broke into a house, stole some keys, and then stole a vehicle that the keys started. And they got caught, and he pled guilty, and then he got 5 years of probation. He completed his probation on 10/22 of 2006. We have a letter from the probation officer that was in the material sent to the commissioners, and that was confirmed, as I say, by his probation officer here in Tennessee. Mr. Tankersley had 2 petty misdemeanors, one in October of 2000 and one in February of 2000. The first involved the solicitation of a prostitution, a night walker, and the second was a violation of a temporary restraining order that a father had gotten to keep Mr. Tankersley from dating his daughter, and both Mr. Tankersley and the daughter just chose to ignore the temporary restraining order. He received probation on those items, and that probation ran with the probation that was established on the burglary and the unauthorized control of the propelled vehicle. Since this time, during the last 12, 13 years, Mr. Tankersley has been involved in medical billing in the customer and retail and service fields. And I'll let him answer any other questions that the commission might have.
Yeah, Mr. Tankersley, at this time, I want you to explain things that have happened to you in your past and what you've been doing since you have had these infractions, and just you just need to convince those of us up here to convince us whether or not we think that you would make a good real estate licensee to represent the public and serve the public in this state.
Yes, sir. Basically, I don't have a great story for it. I was a young man. My family wasn't there. I thought I was hanging around the right cool kids, but I made the wrong decisions. It was basically, come along, don't you want to come do this kind of thing. I was basically just with the wrong people at the wrong time. For the burglary, some kids had the keys to the house. They told me that I was totally fine. I'm thinking that I'm, being cool, so I just walked in there with them, put my fingerprints on things. Later on, come to find out, they definitely did not have permission. Again, that was the same day with the car. They took the car keys. They said it was fine. We can go ahead, and they knew the person. Obviously, it wasn't that. That was not the case at all. When that happened, and I did find out that I broke the law, I did turn myself into the authorities. I did plead guilty to it. I was given probation. During that time, the misdemeanors, I was involved in a relationship with a young woman, and unfortunately, I guess I was just confused as to what a real relationship is back then, and their parents wasn't happy about my past. And I'm thinking that I was still a good kid. I didn't have to worry about their concerns. I ignored the parents' concerns and basically had to suffer the consequences of that TRO, which is basically a harassment charge. And as far as the prostitution goes, again, that was one of those things where wrong place, wrong time. I don't blame anybody else. I was out with those same group of kids, and unfortunately, on the way home, I was sleeping in the back of the car. And in the state of Hawaii, it doesn't matter who was involved with it. If you're in the vicinity, it does. In that case, a friend of mine was trying to sell marijuana to this night walker. I was sleeping in the back, drunk, passed out, and they got pulled over. It happened to be a police officer, and it doesn't matter. Everybody in the vehicle gets charged with prostitution. So, again, that ran concurrent with it. But really, I don't have a great story. It was just a young man that made some poor choices. Since then, I've had no blemishes on my record. I've moved up to Tennessee, where I have support from my family. I got away from a small island where the influences are so easy to run with so much, and I've been involved with medical billing, church groups. Currently, I work for my fiance at her dental practice as an office manager. But really, I'm just applying for this to try to better my life and continue bettering my life.
So these infractions took place when you were in Hawaii?
Yes, yes.
You were born in Hawaii?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Tanksley?
Well, excuse me?
If nobody has any questions...
I do.
Okay.
Are you planning on working full-time? Is this going to be a part-time job
This
for
will
you?
be full-time for me.
It would be
if I'm
full-time,
allowed
so you're
to.
not going to do the medical?
Billing? I work with my fiance at her dental practice. She owns a dental practice in Green Hills. So
Okay.
I'm trying to bide my time and do that. If I'm allowed to, I would very much like to do this full-time.
Okay, now, I'd like to hear from the principal broker that you're going to have, if your license is granted, is Mr. James Jim Walton. Tell us a little bit about your firm and what kind of a mentoring program you have and a training program for Mr. Tanksley if he gets his license.
Right. Well, Keller Williams in Green Hills, we have roughly 120 agents now, and we do continuous training, and we also will have him with a mentor, Mr. Rich Kelly, who is one of our older agents. He's going to be supervised directly by me and Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly will be in the field with him. I'll be supervising paperwork and assisting him. In our normal class schedule, we get them ready for the real world, how to deal with customers and what laws are. They can come in our office at any time and ask questions. So everything I have found with this young man has been very good. The people I talked to about him, which has been 3 people, they've all given, they feel that his reputation is clean now, and it seems to me that the choices he made when he was a young man, we might have all made some mistakes in our past, but he got caught with them. and I believe that was the case with this. So I believe he's going to be a good agent.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments, or anybody want to make a motion as to, or if you want to ask any more questions of anybody?
I make a motion, we let Matthew join the real estate forces.
I second.
Have a motion and a second that we allow Matthew D. Tanksley to sit for the affiliate brokers test. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. No?
He's already tested.
Oh, he's already tested. Okay, I'm sorry.
Ready to go.
Okay. It's a unanimous vote, but before you leave, there's something I'd like to share with you, share with everybody. My grandmother, when I was young, I must have been 10 years old, I was in South Carolina back in the late 50s. And I remember my grandmother made a comment about a family member that was in our family. She said, everybody goes up Fool's Hill, just some stay on it longer than others. I had a brother at the age of 14, went up on Fool's Hill and never came down. Stayed there until his death 5 years ago at the age of 63. But I want to congratulate you, Matthew Tanksley, for going up Fool's Hill, staying there a brief period of time and getting off of it as quick as you could and straightening your life out, and good luck in this career. And you just mentor him, Mr. Walton, and make him the best agent in this Nashville area.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question for you.
What's that?
Where are you on that Fool's Hill right now?
I'm still trying to find the top of the hill.
And my other question to you is, where is Hawaii?
Hawaii. It's somewhere out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
What I'd like to ask the audience, are they clapping for you or for the folks going out the door?
Clapping for Mr. Tanksley for making a very success out of his life. Now, you know the difference between a formal and an informal. You've seen one of each for your attendance at this November meeting. Next on our agenda, we're going to stray from our agenda just a little bit, and we're going to next on our agenda is the Executive Director's report. But we're going to move the legal report. Miss Julie Kropp, our
She did make her phone stop singing that song. I guess it was someone bringing her. She couldn't song. Oh, I guess it was like a spell.
She got a new one?
No, she didn't take it.
I don't have that either, that's why.
Look inside the book.
I know Grover can.
Hey, look at that.
I started playing on my phone.
Yeah, for laughing at me yesterday.
Give me your stack of stuff.
We don't know what to do with papers, Julie. We've been using iPads for months now. We don't know what to do with papers.
Well, yeah, hopefully next month.
We're technically doing
Back
good.
on the iPads, it was just that it was just easier for us to do paper this month.
So it takes us a minute to go through papers.
Yeah, we adapted to our iPads.
We've done
It's
well.
hard to go back.
Even those that,
As I said, we do, see, not
okay.
Y'all ready?
We're ready.
Julie Kropp is our full-time attorney. We are the only board that has a full-time attorney. She also is she's not totally full-time because she is also the attorney for the Auctioneer Commission, but that takes a small part of her time versus the time that she devotes on a monthly basis to issues concerning the 23,500 or so active real estate licensees we have in this state. At this time, I'm going to turn the program over to Miss Julie Kropp.
Okay.
tell these folks what we're fixing to do.
Yeah, what we're fixing to do yesterday was a situation that the complaints that were filed never got answered. Statute says you have 10 days to file an answer to a complaint if one should happen to be filed against you. And the complaints that have been filed, and we get somewhere between, I don't have any, we'll have a report here in a minute when we get an executive director's report, but we get a, somewhere 30, 35 complaints a month filed on licensees in the state. And Ms. Crop, along with Ms. Maxwell and Robin Ryan that was here yesterday, they go through these complaints and work through them together, and that's what we're going to be doing this morning, is going through and taking action on the complaints that have been filed.
Mr. Chairman, you might...
Yes, Commissioner, please.
Let me add also, we don't know who these complaints are filed against. You'll hear respondents 1, 2, 3, and 4. We don't know who those people are.
Yeah, we have no idea who the individuals are in these infractions and in these complaints. We don't have a clue.
But it's all here. I don't know.
Well, just do that on the page.
I don't think the copies ran off. I don't think y'all have every single page. So I'm going to have to maybe let Steve go ahead and do his education report, and I will get y'all another full copy. I'm sorry, I guess there were copying problems when we were running.
Well, we're going to change our agenda back.
Yep.
We will, maybe,
They're at all.
let's just, how long will you think, Julie, how long do you think it'll take? Don't be in any big hurry, because we can just go back like we would have been, and we can but by doing this, we have identified a problem, and while you're correcting that problem, we can just go ahead and let Eve or Steve, whoever wants to go next.
I can go get it and be back probably as quickly as 5 to 10 minutes, but
Okay.
whatever y'all prefer.
Wait,
I just want to make
you
sure.
got-
Copy of that? No, I'm just going to go back. I have a redacted copy of my computer. I'll just print 9 copies. I'll just print you full copies that way. We don't have just swords.
Okay, well, why don't we just, you just go ahead and do that, Julie, and we'll just go ahead and let Steve. Our education director is Steve McDonald. He's in charge of all the courses and the classes that take place, and
And I just got to go make copies upstairs.
I'd like to have a copy.
I'm just passing.
Okay. So Steve McDonald,
Good morning.
time for your report.
Where is
Are
it?
you in the book, or where are you?
Where are you?
Here, behind Drive charts again.
It's to the back,
Mine's all out of order.
it's to the back of that stack.
This is just to make you appreciate those iPads all the more, right?
Appreciate the iPad.
Yeah, I mean, once you get used to them, as I say, next month, we'll hopefully get those back on the iPads. Yeah, that's that.
I'm going home at lunch.
Be good.
And that's why we're going to have Julie go next. She'll be back, though. I don't know.
Do you have a report in here still?
I do. There is a report in there. There's 17 courses.
Okay. Oh, I wasn't looking at that.
There's 17 courses before you.
Steve, you need to speak into the microphone, please.
There are 17 courses before you. At this time, I don't see that there's any issue with any of those 17 courses.
Speak up.
There are 17 courses before you. I don't have any issues of any of those 17 courses.
I make a motion we approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Collins and seconded by Commissioner Northern. That we approve these 17 courses this month. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to the instructor report, you have 2 course providers before you with their instructors. Karen Zarnicki of the Williamson County Association of Realtors, approved provider 1135. Requested approval of Randall Fly to teach fair housing. That's approved course 6101. Mr. Fly is a previously approved instructor with TAR and Trees and holds broker license 258201. The second provider, Emily Sy of Distressed Property Institute LLC, that's approved course provider 1505, requests the approval of Aaron Lewis, Brandon Lauder, and Robin Webb to the CDPE Certified Distressed Property Expert Course 6330. Aaron Lewis has been a licensee since 2004 and currently licensed in California with Prudential California Realty. Aaron has been an instructor with Distressed Property Institute LLC since 2009. Aaron holds a BS degree in business management. Brandon Lauder has been licensed in California since 1992 and holds the GRI, CRS, CDPE, and CIAS, which is the Certified Investor Agent Specialist designation. He has been an instructor with Distressed Property Institute LLC since 2011. Brandon has completed Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, Stephen Covey, Highland Bay, and Sandler Sales Institute sales training. Robin Webb has been licensed in California since 2004. Robin holds a BA in Spanish and an MBA in marketing. Robin is a member of the Short Sale and Foreclosure Resource, CDPE, and Asian Real Estate Association of America. It would appear the instructors presented are qualified to instruct these courses. I have their resumes if you have any questions on any other credentialing.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner DeShar to approve these instructors, and seconded by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Instructors are approved.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, the next item is that the instructor manual or the course hour? Online providers? Okay. Several commission meetings ago, you had asked me to follow up on course completion times. At that time, the provider that we had in question was McKissick. That's approved course provider 1338. They have put in a stopgap now to ensure that all testers are taking the appropriate time to complete the class. At that time, folks were completing some 3-hour courses in shorter time. And so that has now been corrected. All of the online providers submitted their course completion times, and those that were in question have been notified to make sure that they use the Orello timing mechanism that some of them may or may not have been using based on our rule, our education rule. The last item on the agenda is, or my portion of the agenda, is the instructor workshop manual. Director Maxwell has a copy, a very rough draft of the copy that she is looking through. It is my intent to pass that along to each and every one of you in the email between now and the December meeting. So the December meeting will have the opportunity to discuss it. You'll have ample time to review it, make any edits. I think hopefully you will be impressed with it and feel that it is sufficient, but if there's anything, additions or deletions we need to make to it, you can let me know.
Great. Refresh me on this. Is this manual then going to be taught by another instructor, or are you going to teach this?
It's going to facilitate compliance. A matter of teaching is up to administration allowing the budget to give us the opportunity to take it across the state. At this time, it would be sent to all the instructors to review with an affidavit that they have read it, they understand it, and they comply.
And they comply, but
comply.
It's not something that you're going to be teaching teachers.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Have the providers gotten some word of this, that we're moving in that direction?
No.
So you'll be sending something out and then after we're done?
Yes. I did not want to send it out to the 200 or so folks that we are associated with that this was coming down the pike until it was in its final form.
I don't think it's good.
They might want to assist in helping you put it.
You still want to remind all of you, we're on the record, we're under the Sunshine Law, so make sure all of your comments are spoken loudly and directly into the microphones in front of you.
Are there any other questions, Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
She said she couldn't hear you, Commissioner Northern.
I didn't hear her say that, I'm sorry.
Well, that's all I have, Commissioners. I'll go back to taking notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, in addition to being the full-time education director, while our administrative assistant, Kelly McDermott, she got a new last name? He's Stan? Just Kelly. But anyway, Kelly took care of the minutes and all that, and Steve's doing that while she's out on maternity leave. And Miss Maxwell, y'all are doing it together.
Yes, it's a joint venture.
You're doing a good job. I guess while we're waiting on Ms. Kropp to get back with copies of her complaint report, we could go on, get started on Ms. Maxwell's.
The first item is the complaint report, and that's in your packet. Somewhere. It's the front and the back of sheets, so as I say, next month we'll have that iPad thing.
That one?
Right, well, it's got those three components. It's got the open-close complaints, and which is a shorter sheet, and then it's got the two longer sheets.
Oh, and that was on the back of...
Correct.
Of Steve's education report.
Well, here's Julie. Do you want me to let her?
Yeah, let's
now that you found that. But she has those to hand out, so. Okay. So I say I apologize for sort of the discombobulation.
Y'all just bear with us this morning. We're just a little miscombobulated.
Well, actually, Kelly had her baby a month early, so we thought that she was going to be here for this meeting and another couple of weeks, and she could sort of tell us where everything was and train Steve and myself to do it, but we have just sort of had to jump in and do it, and so that's why we're a little bit discombobulated.
Well, it speaks well of Kelly. She's organized. Yes, it shows how much she does. That's right. So which one are we going to do?
We'll go.
Okay.
You ready, Julie?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
We're getting started on the legal report.
All right. First up, I'm going to try to talk loud. I don't think my microphone's working. It is? Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to read the statement on the first page to begin. Any consent order authorized by the Commission should be signed by respondent and returned within 30 days. If said consent order is not signed and returned within the allotted time, the matter may proceed to a formal hearing. The first matters are numbers 1 and 2, 2012-006651 and 2012-006652. This was originally presented at the August 2012 meeting. Complainants state they leased a home from respondents, both unlicensed. Complainants were relocating to Tennessee from another area of the country and selected the home to rent, which was shown on respondents' website. Complainants state that the photos that were provided the property on respondents' website were not the actual home complainants rented. Complainants stated the home was very dirty and unfit to live in. It appears that Respondent 1 was a licensee whose license has expired. Respondent submitted a response stating that they are married, and Respondent 2 entered into a lease option agreement with the owner of the subject property rented by complainants. A copy of the lease option agreement was provided by respondents. Then Respondent 2 personally entered into a rental agreement with complainants, which did not involve Respondent 1 or their company. It appears that the maintenance and cleanliness issues addressed in the complaint were handled by attorneys for the parties. Respondent 1 states that upon realizing that Respondent 1's real estate license had expired, Respondent 1 shut down their company and ceased operations. Respondent 1 is in the process of taking the exam and obtaining proper licensure, at which time Respondent 1 plans to affiliate with a firm. With regard to the property that was rented by complainants, it appears from the documentation provided that Respondent 2 was renting the property to complainants personally, pursuant to the rights granted to Respondent 2 by a lease option agreement with the property owner. This matter was deferred to allow Commissioner Duchar to review the file, and then deferred again for more information, and then Commissioner Duchar was absent. So basically, she's going to give us her report today.
I do apologize for not being in Chattanooga to discuss this, but I did have a slight excuse.
It's that thing on her wrist.
And the thing that was on my foot at the time. So, but after Julie and I both have done some research, the website still shows that these people are managing property without a license. Some of the properties they manage, they do own, so that was not an issue. But we did find 4.
I think there were 2 or 3 that they we requested information, and they said they managed it. I spoke with Respondent 2, who said that they were charging a fee. He said they were changing it over to a real estate company, but this has been going on for a couple of months, and essentially, based on what they provided us, they did indicate that they had been managing some properties after all.
So they are, once again, practicing real estate without a license. So recommendation is a letter cease and desist and a consent order with a fine.
We can include the cease and desist in the consent order, and it just would be up to you as to a recommendation of how much you think. There's 2 respondents, so I guess we would do 2 separate orders, one for each of them. That's 2 individuals.
Julie, can I ask a question? Is it okay for us to do that under this complaint, since this complaint had to do with this one particular piece of property, but it seems like in investigating that we found something else, and that's really what we want to hit them for?
I think so, because they were aware of that issue when they responded. They had noticed that it's very connected to it.
So can we get staff's recommendation?
As far as an amount, I'm not sure. These people seem to be aware that what they're doing is wrong. However, it has not been, in my opinion, I think he said they were waiting on some documentation to transfer the last one over to a real estate firm. I think the most important thing at this point is a cease and desist. As far as including a civil penalty amount in there, I don't think an extremely large amount would be necessary, but I would defer to whatever Commissioner Duchar thinks, since she reviewed the documentation as well as I did. And so,
Question. They're in the process of taking an exam. Do you know this to be true?
I know that when I checked that back, the last time I checked that the respondent had contacted Trek about taking the exam and had been given the okay to take the exam. As far as the current process, where that is in the process, I don't know exactly right now. When I spoke to them, they said that they had transferred their management over to a licensed firm, so I don't know where that is in the process of that license.
Well, I would like to add to the discussion that there be some hours of education in property management. I mean, I'm not as concerned about the fine as I am they knowing what they're supposed to do. We can't do that?
No, if they're not licensed.
If they don't have a license, I mean, we can tell they got to they swim across the river down here. They just, we don't have that authority.
Can we flag their file?
They don't have one.
When they get a file? Okay. Well, we can actually fine them without a license then? We can fine them without a license, but we can't make them take education.
You can do a civil penalty for unlicensed activity.
I'd like to, since Commissioner Duchar reviewed this file, what recommendation do you have for a civil penalty?
What are the penalties on that allowed?
I think what we would probably be writing it under would be 301. And the range for that looks like $50 to $1,000.
$500.
And that should still be in your books, that range.
We had that, we had that sheet, we put it in there yesterday for the hearing that has, shows what the correct reference should be for the civil penalty.
Yeah, the 6213-301 is the license requirement, which states that it's unlawful for any person to engage in or conduct, advertise, or claim to be engaging in or conducting the business of a broker without a license. And the range for that is 50 to 1,000.
It doesn't actually show a range, it shows a penalty, right?
It says range.
Yeah. On 301?
50 to 1,000. Jen, what was your suggestion?
500.
What's the motion that's on the floor?
Is there one?
Consent order that they cease and desist and a $500 penalty.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner DeShaw and seconded by Commissioner Haynes. And cease and desist, consent order, and a $500 civil penalty
For each.
for each. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and let the record show that Commissioner DeShaw abstained from the vote since she was the one that reviewed the file.
So, could I ask about this penalty sheet just for a second, so I'm clear
Yes.
on something? So we've got a front and a back.
Mm-hmm.
And on the front, under 1262.32, there's a violation that fits under 62.13.301. And it says $50 to $1,000, which is what we just did.
Right.
On the back of that page, paragraph 2, about two-thirds the way down, talks about TCA 62-13-301, and it's a penalty of $1,000.
Yeah, I see. It's unclear. Robin, have you looked at, how have they done that in the past? You didn't bring your book? You didn't have her book. I don't know, because at the subsection 1, it says any person required to be licensed by the commission, and this would be someone who would be required. And then the second subsection it says any person required to be licensed by the commission who is not licensed, and it says you may assess in accordance with the following schedule, and it just gives 1,000. I would think from the way you read that would be read as the maximum, that you could do less than that.
I'm not arguing with you, but on the front there's a range. It's specific, 0 to
Right.
1,000, and it's a number on the
Right.
back.
I don't know. It is confusing, and I can try to ask about it because it is confusing to read. It's under subsection 1 gives a range for 62.13.301, and subsection 2 just outlines 1,000 for each one of them. And then on the next page, it's just the rule.
I know, but the next page
Just says $1,000.
$2,000. Julie, and I don't know, but it might be that in number 1 it says, may in a lawful proceeding affecting a person may assess it. The next page it says, with any respect, they may assess the civil penalty for each separate violation of statute. It might be that, and it might be that one is anticipated to have a formal hearing and
But in any case, it says may assess, and it has 1,000, so it's...
that positive maximum, no matter what.
So the motion that we passed is within the scope of our statute, correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Who made the motion?
Commissioner DeShaw and Commissioner...
Is it okay for Commissioner DeChar to make the motion when she abstained from the vote?
She abstained.
Why don't I take back my second and I'll make the motion?
Let's just strike that from the record.
Okay. Just to make it right.
Okay.
And I'll make a motion that we send a letter to cease and assist, and we have a
They will cease and desist.
Yeah.
Okay.
A consent order that they will cease and desist.
And a $500 fine.
Civil penalty.
Each.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Haynes makes the motion, and Commissioner McMullen seconds the motion, and the question's been called. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no.
Number 3 through 6, 2012-011-911, 2012-011-912, 2012-011-931, and 2012-011-941. This complaint was opened against respondents. Respondent 1 is a licensed firm. Respondent 2 and 4 are the same individual, and that individual is the principal broker of Respondent 1 firm, and Respondent 3 is an unlicensed individual. based on a complaint which alleges that Complainant's Development Company contracted with Respondent 3 in April 2010 for design, construction services, and property management services. Complainant states that in February 2012, Complainant discovered that Respondent 3 and Respondent 3's company had been making false statements regarding management practices, tenant placement, security deposit, and rent handling and repairs to the properties. There were also issues with the construction services. Complainant gave 30 days notice to terminate the management agreements, and Complainant states that Respondent 3 promised to do a number of things, including but not limited to turning over all previous rents and security deposits collected and stopping rent collection as of April 1, 2012. Complainant states that Respondent 3 and Respondent 3's unlicensed company failed to do these things and continued to collect rent after April 1st. Based on the submitted complaint, complaints were opened against Respondent 1, a licensed firm which is owned by Respondent 3, Respondent 2, which is the principal broker for Respondent 1, Respondent 3, the unlicensed individual who was referenced in Complainant's complaint, and Respondent 4, who is the same individual, the same principal broker as Respondent 2, which was opened separately for failure to supervise the unlicensed Respondent 3. Respondent 3 submitted no response, but replies were submitted on behalf of Respondent 2 and 4, and on behalf of Respondents, the response was submitted by the individual who is Respondent 2 and 4 on behalf of Respondents 1, 2, and 4, which states that there is an ongoing dispute between Respondent 3 and Complainant which involves attorneys in a potential lawsuit. Respondent 2, 4 states that nothing in the complaint involves services provided by Respondent 1, 2, or 4, and Respondents 1, 2, and 4 are not involved in any property management or construction services, with the only service ever provided to Complainant being representation in the purchase of several properties. Respondent 2, 4 states that his understanding is that the construction issues arose from Respondent 3's construction companies. A complaint was also filed with the Contractors Board, which was closed. Respondent 2, 4 states that Respondent 3 owned a company, an LLC, which is currently administratively dissolved and which was formerly licensed as a firm, but the firm license expired on May 2nd, 2009, which had the management agreements with Complainant. This unlicensed LLC is the company addressed in Complainant's complaint. Respondent 2, 4 states that he is not and has not ever been affiliated with that company and does not know anything about whether it is operating. Respondent 2, 4 states that he does not understand why a complaint was filed against him because Respondent 1 firm and Respondent 2, 4 have no involvement in the dispute with Complainant. Further, Respondent 2, 4 does not understand why a failure to supervise complaint was opened because it was not Respondent 2, 4's right or responsibility to supervise Respondent 3 in companies in which Respondent 2, 4 is not involved. Respondent 2, 4 attached copies of 2 management agreements between Complainant's company and the LLC referenced in Respondent 2, 4's response. Though the management agreements were fully executed, appears on July 2nd, 2010, Respondent 3's name is not on the agreements, and Respondent 3 did not sign the agreements. A TREC auditor met with Respondent 2, 4, and Respondent 3. According to the auditor, Respondent 3 admitted that the unlicensed LLC had managed Complainant's property since 2010, at which point Respondent 3 thought the LLC was properly licensed. Respondent 3 claims that when Respondent 3 learns there was not a license, Respondent 3 opened Respondent 1 firm and hired Respondent 2, 4. However, Respondent 3's unlicensed LLC continued to manage Complainant's properties under the unlicensed firm due to the still existing construction contracts with Complainant. Respondent 3 and 2, 4 agreed that Respondent 2, 4 was not aware that the management continued, and the auditor stated he could find no documents to suggest otherwise. The auditor obtained a rent roll from the unlicensed firm referencing rents collected from Complainant's properties from January 2012. The auditor states that the unlicensed firm was closed upon concluding business with the Complainant, as Complainant's company was the only remaining client due to the involved construction projects. Complainant provided copies of the management agreements with the unlicensed LLC as well as a number of construction contracts. Complainant indicated that an attorney had been retained to file suit against Respondent 3. With regard to Respondent 1, Respondent 2, and Respondent 4, there appears to be no documentation evidencing any involvement with Complainant. Similarly, there appears to be no documentation evidencing any knowledge or involvement in Respondent 3's activities on the part of Respondent 2, 4. Based on the information included in the auditor's report, Respondent 3 and the unlicensed LLC retained only complainant's properties after Respondent 1 was licensed, and the LLC was closed after complainant, the sole remaining client, ceased doing business with it. However, the January 2012 rent roll suggests that Respondent 3's unlicensed LLC was engaged in unlicensed activity. And I did receive an additional email response from Respondent 3 yesterday during our meeting, which I read this morning, and I just want to mention on the record. It's a lengthy response, but for the most part it goes into construction issues and saying that this whole complaint is because of that and not real estate issues, and it actually claims that the unlicensed LLC has been a real estate property management company since around 2004. Our regulatory board system indicates that license expired in 2009. So I'm going to mention this, but for the most part it doesn't address the auditor's information that was obtained. The recommendation is to dismiss as to Respondent 1, Respondent 2, and Respondent 4. And as to Respondent 3, a consent order for $1,000 for unlicensed activity in violation of Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62-13-102, 4A and B, which defines broker. I like to include that definition in there. It's not really a violation statute, but I like to include that. And Section 62-13-103 and Section 62-13-301, said order to also include an order to cease and desist all unlicensed activity. I know that was confusing, but it's a very confusing situation, so if you have any questions, I'd be willing to answer anything you guys may have.
Yes, Commissioner Northern.
Julie, just in summary, just to be clear, Respondent 3 appears to be the only, for lack of a better word, culprit in this situation. But Respondent 3 was previously licensed, but the license expired before they took the contract for property management for the complainant.
Respondent 3 is an individual here.
Right.
Respondent 3 has never had a license. The
firm
that Respondent 3 owned was previously licensed, but it expired. Respondent 3 has not had a real estate license at any point in time.
And the agreement was with the firm or with Respondent 3?
The agreement was with the unlicensed LLC.
Okay. And it was for multiple services, not just for property management?
It was a property management agreement. It basically involved rent collection and retaining a portion of that for property management services.
Okay, so it's the unlicensed LLC. Was that the firm?
That was the unlicensed firm that had the property management agreement with the complainants group.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept council's recommendation with a change of penalty from $1,000 to $500 to be consistent with what we did in the previous case.
Okay. Motion is to take council's recommendation but reduce the civil penalty from $1,000 to $500. Motion by Commissioner Northern. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner McMullen seconds the motion. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Griggs.
So, let me go back to Julie for a second. The difference in this case and the one we heard before is that you find two different violations. Is that correct?
Well, I listed two different ones here. I had, let's see.
Same activity, or just unlicensed?
It's the same activity. I didn't have a written recommendation because we were going off of Commissioner DeCharles, and I was just thinking of 301. 103 is saying any person who directly or indirectly for another with the intention or the promise of receiving any valuable consideration offers, attempts, or agrees to perform or performs any single act defined in 62-13-102, whether as part of a transaction or as an entire transaction is deemed a broker, affiliate broker, or timeshare salesperson within the meaning of this chapter, and subsection B states the commission of any single such act by any person required to be licensed by this chapter, not doing so constitutes a violation. So I guess technically both of them could be cited for both of those.
Well, I'm just kind of hung up on this sheet here with the fines, because we show two different fines. Civil penalties, civil penalties. And I'm just trying to distinguish between the one we just heard and this current one.
It's the same, the problem is, and you're right, it is confusing the statute, and I believe this is in your rule, and I believe this is being addressed. You all have addressed this in some respect. The problem is that essentially it's one activity. It's just defined a different way. And so if you can say, I think, there's a violation of the various sections, but it's still just the one activity of unlicensed practice. It's a definition in 102 saying that if you do it once, that you've done it. And it's a definition in 103 it's a definition. In 102, I think it's just outlining it. So I think there is confusion, but I still think you are talking about one activity.
Okay, thank you. Call for questions, Chair.
I have one before I hear you. I got one question. Would that email that you got this morning, would that have changed anything that you are recommending to us?
No, I mean, I read and considered it, but it really doesn't address the issue that we have a rent roll showing they collect rent, and our records show they did not have a license during that period of time, which is what this appears to boil down to for this respondent. I mean, we don't deal with construction issues.
Gotcha. Question's been called. All in favor on the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Number 7, 2012-012641. Complainant's property was scheduled for foreclosure, and respondent, an affiliate broker, was complainant's broker. The property was listed for $34,000, and respondent informed complainant that respondent had received a cash offer for $25,000, so respondent attempted a short sale. Complainant states that respondent was slow in responding with the bank and did not comply as instructed, and the short sale did not close. Complainant states that respondent continued with attempting a second short sale. Complainant states that the second short sale fell through and the bank foreclosed on complainant's property. Complainant claims that the foreclosure resulted from respondent's failure to communicate with the bank. From emails provided by complainant, it appears that complainant could not reach the bank and attempted to email the bank on the day before the foreclosure to request a postponement of the foreclosure. Other emails from respondent to complainant indicate that respondent repeatedly tried to reach the bank and its short sale department without success. Respondent submitted a response stating when the short sale contract on the all-cash offer was received for complainant's property, the documentation was forwarded to the contact person in the bank's short sale department with whom respondent was instructed to deal. Upon providing additional requested financial information to the bank's short sale department, respondent states that respondent was instructed to complete an offer worksheet for the offer, which respondent states was completed and submitted on the day after the request. 1 day later, respondent states that respondent was asked by the bank's short sale department to complete a HUD-1 settlement statement, which respondent had an attorney assist with, and was sent to the bank. After multiple attempts to contact the short sale contact person, respondent states that the short sale department requested a hardship letter and other documentation such as bank statements and tax returns, which was provided to the bank on the same day. Then respondent states that the short sale department needed a signed short sale purchase contract addendum form, which was signed by the parties and returned, and another offer worksheet was completed. Respondent states that respondent was subsequently contacted by the bank, stating that the land was still under review and the bank was attempting to obtain an updated valuation of the property. And respondent was contacted by an appraiser who stated that the bank had hired him to do an appraisal. Soon after, respondent states that the bank contacted respondent asking if the buyer would increase the offer, but the buyer would not. Respondent states that respondent feels respondent did everything possible to close the sale. The information contained within the file does not appear to substantiate a violation of TREC's laws and/or rules by respondent, and therefore the recommendation is to dismiss.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Alexander to accept council recommendation and dismiss, and seconded by Commissioner Northern. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 8.
Number 8, 2012-013391. Complaint opened against respondent, principal broker, based on an April 2012 audit of one of the firms at which respondent was the principal broker. According to the audit report, respondent was the principal broker of 2 firms at the same location. The audit report indicates that the audited firm was closing within a month. The audit report noted 3 issues. First, the auditor stated the firm sign was not out front because it was waiting to be installed. Second, the auditor noted issues with the escrow account, which included several small overdrafts and had non-escrow payments. The firm had no general account. Finally, the auditor noted that respondent had written to TREC notifying of a situation where one of respondent's affiliated brokers was paid a commission from a sale by a related firm which had ongoing negotiations with respondent's audited firm but no agreement. Respondent submitted a reply stating that in opening the audited firm, they were trying to accomplish a franchise with another firm, which did not work out and was the reason for the audited firm deciding to close its doors in May 2012. With regard to the sign issue, respondent states that the large outdoor sign had been delivered but not yet installed, and a 24 by 24 sign was temporarily in the window. As to the escrow account issue, respondent states that when respondent came on with the audited firm, the bookkeeper had the subject account already established. Respondent states that when respondent told the bookkeeper that the account was escrow only. Respondent states that several checks were given to respondent for use in setting up the firm: check to the Secretary of State, check to TREC, and a check to MLS. Respondent states that respondent was not aware that these checks were given from the escrow account. Respondent states that the overdrafts were due to bank charges, a $15 monthly fee. After the firm closed, the account was also closed, and respondent states that respondent has learned to be more attentive to the escrow situation. With regard to the final commission issue, respondent states that respondent notified TREC of the situation where one of respondent's affiliated brokers received a commission check from another firm. At the closing, the HUD form listed respondent's audited firm as the firm to receive the closing check, but instead the check was issued to another firm, which respondent's audited firm was at that time attempting to do a franchise with which later fell through, and the principal broker of the other firm deposited the closing check and issued it to respondent's affiliated licensee. The recommendation is a letter of warning regarding Rule 1260-02-0.09 subsection 1, which states that each broker shall maintain a separate escrow account for the purpose of holding any funds which may be received as deposits, earnest money, etc., and subsection 3, which states that brokers are responsible at all times for deposits and earnest money.
Anybody have any questions of Ms. Crop?
I'm sorry. It states that the escrow account, they were actually using for other things, which caused the escrow account to overdraw.
The 3 checks that were mentioned in here, I don't believe the account was open for a very long period of time, so there were 3 checks, which were...
But they were still using other people's money to pay their bills with.
I'm not sure who the money had come in from. I think the account was opened with some money already in it, and it doesn't look like there were a lot of transactions going on in this account from the documents that were provided.
I think I still kind of have an issue with
But it was opened as an escrow account, not an operating account?
That's what she appears to have said, that the bookkeeper had opened the account. Respondent came on as the principal broker, and the respondent said this should be an escrow-only account. And when respondent asked for checks to pay these expenses to the Secretary of State, TREC, and the MLS, RealTrax, apparently was given 3 checks and did not realize they were from the same account.
That could be just the bookkeeping.
I was going to say...
That's how it was described.
Yeah.
In how it was represented by the documents.
Yeah, you should pay attention to what you're signing, and I'm not sure who signs the check. It's in that firm, but that just appears to be bookkeeping to me.
Well, I would like to know if it's somebody else's money. I mean, I think that should
Where
be
the money
proved
came
out,
from?
because I know when we open escrow accounts, we don't have to, I mean, my bank, I don't have to put any money in it to open an escrow account.
Well, not all banks are as generous
That's what I'm
as your
saying.
bank.
That's what I'm saying. I'd like to know.
And they've got a $15.
Commissioner Alexander.
I move that this file be signed Ms. DeCharles.
Second.
I think Commissioner Grace needs to look at a file every now and then.
We have a motion to assign this file to Commissioner DeShar and give us a report next month. And seconded by Northern. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Grace.
now with that action accomplished, there's a related or an issue in this narrative, Julie, that talks about another broker paying a commission check to somebody who's not his licensee. Have you all looked into that or considered action in that respect?
You know, I discussed that. It appears that based on the information we received from respondent, there was some kind of franchise agreement going on there. I don't know exactly what happened. These 2 firms were in discussion to become connected. I don't know if there were any documents in that time. I don't think there were any agreements at that time, but no, at this point we had not opened anything against that individual.
To me, I mean, it's kind of a black and white issue. If the guy, you can't write a check to somebody who's not affiliated with your firm. I don't know, maybe Janet, if you want to pursue that a little bit, or if that's a separate complaint the staff might want to think about opening.
Well, if you'll notice, Bruce, that there is there's a complaint, already one escrow violation, and then there's some kind of complaint that's under legal review.
There's
now.
one that's coming down the line, but it's not escrow related.
So there's another complaint.
There is a complaint that we had just recently received, and I wasn't comfortable going ahead and pulling it up and presenting it, but it is not escrow related.
Well, I'm really glad Commissioner DeSharo is going to look at this.
I am too. Now, number 9.
I'm with John. I believe somebody messed up writing a check to somebody that wasn't in their firm. No, sure.
Yeah, she'll if it's in there, she'll uncover it.
Kick the bucket.
We'll kick the bucket down the road another month. Our next complaint is complaint number 9.
Number 9, 2012-014-031. The complainant was represented by respondent, a principal broker, in the listing of complainant's home. It appears that the home was at first listed for sale and then as a lease purchase. Later, complainant states that the property was rented, but there was no agreement signed between complainant and respondent to reflect the management agreement. After several months, complainant became dissatisfied with respondent's services and terminated respondent as property manager and instructed that the tenant move out. Based on the documents provided by complainant, it appears complainant's dissatisfaction was based on the time it took to secure a tenant, and then once a tenant was found for the property, the time it took for the tenant to make his first payment, and also with how often respondent contacted complainant. Complainant also states that when the tenant moved in, complainant was asked if several rooms could be painted and more were actually painted, that the locks were changed and complainant did not receive a key, that complainant never got a copy of the lease agreement with the tenant, that complainant does not know what the tenant paid in rent or respondent's fee for management. Complainant states that respondent told complainant that the documents could be viewed online and that the tenant did not pay rent on time, causing difficulties in complainant paying the mortgage. Complainant references that respondent had been making payments to complainant from respondent's account, and complainant argues that even if the renter does not pay the rent on time to respondent, respondent should at least pay complainant on time. Complainant is also unhappy because at one point complainant left a note on the house telling the tenant to contact complainant, and respondent asked complainant not to do this. Complainant states that last month's rent has not been paid to complainant, and complainant seems to suggest that complainant should have responsibility for painting and cleaning fees. Finally, complainant states that the keys were not given back to complainant after the management period ended. Respondent submitted a response stating that complainant refused to sign a management agreement after no one was secured for the lease purchase, and therefore the terms of the leasing of the property were verbally agreed to between complainant and respondent. Respondent states that respondent paid some fees for work to be done to the property to prepare for the tenant, such as carpet cleaning and painting, and allowed complainant to pay those fees later to assist complainant in ensuring complainant paid the mortgage. Respondent states the tenant was never 30 days late in paying rent, so no legal action was taken against the tenant. Respondent states the tenant paid to paint everything except one room, which had markings and holes left by complainant, and the home was left dirty. The fees for invoices paid by respondent up front were apparently deducted from the last month's prorated rent, with the balance paid to complainant. Regarding the tenant, respondent claims that respondent was contacted by the tenant, who was distressed at complainant having people repeatedly lurk and spy on the tenant, and notes left by complainant. With regard to the key return, respondent states that complainant sent another individual to do the final walkthrough, who was instructed by complainant not to sign the key release and to leave. There appears to be a number of issues between complainant and respondent. However, respondent's failure to insist upon written contractual agreements regarding the management of the property, the messy bookkeeping, and the issues regarding responsibilities of complainant for painting, cleaning, and etc., which are not clearly resolved based on lack of agreements between the parties, it appears there was a failure on the part of respondent to be loyal to the best interests of the client, and therefore the consent order the recommendation is a consent order for failing to be loyal to the interests of the client in violation of Tennessee Code Annotated Section 6213 312B14 Section 62-13-404, subsection 2, with a civil penalty of $500 plus attendance by respondent at one entire meeting of the commission within 180 days of respondent's execution of the consent order.
Any questions of Ms. Crop?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we accept council's recommendation.
I have a motion by Commissioner Grease that we accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Send a consent order with a civil penalty of $500 plus attendance at one entire meeting of the commission within 180 days, a.k.a. 6 months. And I seconded by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. And at this time, we're going to take a short 10-minute break. A 10-minute break. Okay. We'll call the Tennessee Real Estate Commission back into session. And at this time, I am going to turn the gavel over to the Vice Chairman of the Real Estate Commission, Ms. Michelle Haynes, to conduct the meeting.
I'm also an auctioneer, and we will try to do it as efficiently and as fast as we can. And we're going to get Julie in on this one of these days. Number 10.
Number 10, 2012-0142.
Get closer to the mic.
41. What'd you say? I'm sorry. Closer to the mic. I'm sorry. Do you want me to reread it? No. Okay. Trek open complaint against respondent, a former principal broker. The license is expired based on photographs submitted anonymously of a yard sign which displays respondent's name and the name of respondent's former firm. The license for the firm expired on September 8, 2010, as well as a phone number. There's no information provided regarding who took the yard sign photo or where or when the photograph was taken. Respondent submitted no response to the complaint, which was returned unclaimed. After calling the number on the yard sign and speaking briefly with respondent, who stated that respondent owned the property which the photographed yard sign was on, and respondent was not sure if the sign was still up, legal counsel obtained information from the local Realtors Association, which included 2 property listings by respondent on the MLS service. Both properties were listed by respondent and included the name of respondent's expired firm. The MLS listings indicate that as of October 17, 2012, the properties have been listed by respondent on the MLS for 33 days. The recommendation is the consent order for $500 for advertising to be engaged in or conducting the business or acting in the capacity of a real estate broker in the state without first obtaining a license in violation of 62-13-301. Said order to also include in order to cease and desist said activity.
Are there any questions?
What about the no E&O insurance on that, Julie?
I think these properties, I pulled property information on the two listings on the MLS, which the local Realtors Association, when notified that these licenses were expired, said that it would be pulled immediately from the MLS system. The owner of the properties appears to be this respondent and the spouse, so I don't believe that this person is actually taking other people's listings, but the person is using signs that indicate that they're a licensee. I think it's on that person's property that they're selling, but they're using signs for an expired firm.
And how did they get on MLS?
I guess they've kept current with the paying their... That's what I'm confused about, because somehow they've just kept paying the association even though the license has been expired through Trek since 2010.
Is that something we check to see if they're... Because don't know if I've seen this before.
Well, in our association, and this comes back to the problem of associations not getting notification of expired license. They have, unless somebody specifically calls and said, hey, I think that license is expired, they don't know it. So, and they don't bill the agents, they bill the brokers. So the broker gets a bill, just keeps paying the bill for all the agents that they get the bill from, and the association doesn't know whether their license is expired or not.
I don't think it's Trek's responsibility to a notified association. I think the association ought to, on a routine basis, notify Trek and find out what's been expired.
But they don't have a way of knowing. There's not a report now.
No, there's a website. The website, you can go and under downloadable reports, and you can download it right then and there. I mean,
they can
you get a little cart and put it in the little cart, but it's free, and you don't. I mean, it'll come right to you. It'll come in an Excel form, So you can do, you can mix it and match it however you prefer.
This might be something that you could bring up to TAR that they need to do on a routine basis to make sure the licensees are licensed. I think it's their responsibility, not ours.
Well, I don't think it's TARs, I think it's the associations.
Associations, but I mean...
The associations I've made aware of this new feature, they do have to create an account. Now, it's whether the association executives or their education director, if they're that big, to have one, do so. But they are aware that we have this feature. I did tell Pug, I know Pug is out for health reasons, but TAR is aware that they can do this.
But that is a new report, but, right?
No, it's been there.
Has it?
Yeah. That's
If I own it might be a little bit here because he might have had a firm name, but if I own the property and I got a sign on it and I got my telephone number on it, where you find him for?
Well, the way the sign is, it appears to be for this firm, that it looks like this person's affiliate, and that you would contact...
Was the firm name the same name as the individual?
No, the firm name has a separate name. It's a name of a firm, like
ABC Real Estate.
ABC Real Estate with Mr. So-and-so's name at the top and a telephone number. It looks like, from looking at the sign, that it is listed by a licensed broker with a licensed firm. Now, it is not, from the information we have, the association said there were only 2 listings. I looked at both listings. They appear to be owned. The owner is, has the same last name as this person, and when I spoke with the person, he said, my wife and I own this property. I do not believe this person is going around actually acting as a real estate broker for other people, but when a member of the public were to look at this sign, it appears that a licensed broker has the property listed, which could be considered misleading to the public based on what is out there in these.
I'm not sure the fine's big enough.
I think it's too... I'm going to make you a motion, we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
I move that we write him, he or she, a letter of warning and disregard the fine.
Well, that concerns me that we're setting precedents.
There is a motion on the floor by Commissioner Alexander. Do I hear a second?
I'd like to add to that. I'll second it. I think we need to send a copy of the letter to the MLS. Their bylaws say you've got to be a real estate agent to receive everything.
Well, you got to be a member of that board before you be in that MLS.
Absolutely.
But I just have a real problem with the thing that this individual owns the property himself.
I agree. But she's talking about precedent.
Even though it didn't, I understand that. But it's just...
Well, this goes back to a broker issue.
Yeah.
The broker should have been supervising their agents. And if
This is an unlicensed firm. There is no licensed broker involved here.
But he's putting himself as a firm.
This person was the principal broker
He
of
was
the
at one
firm.
time,
It's all
and he
expired.
quit. He went out of business.
Then he should have took that sign down.
All of the licenses
He
expired.
went out of business, but he's still using his signs as if he's going business.
He could be fined by the MLS.
He should be.
And the
Well, that depends
association
on
is
their-
aware.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in
He
favor?
didn't have a second.
He seconded it. He seconded it. Now, let's just see what the vote is. All in favor?
Aye.
How many is that? Let's take a roll call. All against? Aye. Wait a
Michelle,
minute.
you can't vote.
I can't.
No, you can't vote. Unless it's tied. Unless it's tied.
So do we need to take a roll call?
I'm going to call for roll call.
I'm opposed.
Roll call.
Okay, the motion is that there's a letter of warning sent to this individual. And was yours an amendment?
I didn't
Commissioner
make the
Collins?
amendment.
Okay.
I said so I could, but I didn't.
Okay.
Okay, so it was just the motion of Commissioner Alexander that a letter of warning be sent and no further action be taken. Is that correct? Is that correctly reflected in your motion? So now we'll do a roll call.
I'm confused. I thought there was a motion to accept Julie's recommendation.
No,
he
you
changed the
disregard the
motion.
$500.
Disregard the fine is what he said.
Okay.
So the motion is just to send a letter of warning. Alexander,
For the motion.
Collins,
Yes.
DeChara,
Opposed?
Grease,
No.
Flitcroft, absent. Haynes,
Opposed?
McMullen, Northern,
No.
Stevenson.
No.
So the motion does not carry.
Do I hear another motion?
I make a motion, we accept council's recommendation.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Grease has a second.
We have a little discussion on that now.
Yes, discussion.
To me, I mean, so we've got a former licensee who, whether or not his association knows about it, is advertising to the public. Because when that listing goes in, it's also going to go to Realtor.com and any number of places where that is dispersed to. So, I mean, to me, I don't think it was a mistake. I think he figured out what he was doing. It might have been somebody else's mistake that he got to do it, but I think he knew what he was doing, or she, whichever the case may be.
Yeah, I think it's blatant.
I just think it's an old man kind of like me, that's quit business and didn't take his sign down. And
I'd be willing to bet it's not, because we got a lot of that going on
You're
there.
assuming that sign's been up since his license expired, but he didn't. He put that sign up.
It's only been there 33 days.
Mr. Chairman, call for a previous question.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Not with the old man like you anyhow.
Number 11.
Number 11, 2012-014-891. Complainants were two principal brokers. One is the current principal broker at a firm, and the other was a former principal broker of that same firm at the time that respondent, now a principal broker, was affiliated there. According to complainants, in 2010, the firm entered into an exclusive agency agreement for sale or lease of a property with the property owners, and the firm also had an agreement with the owners regarding the firm negotiating a lease renewal with the tenant, and pursuant to which the property owner agreed to pay the firm $2,000 with half paid in advance and the other half payable upon lease renewal with the current tenant. At the time, the property owner paid $1,000 in the form of a check made to respondent, which was turned over to the firm, and respondent was compensated respondent's share of this amount by the firm. Then the property owners entered into a 12-month lease agreement from January 1st, 2011 to December 31st, 2011 with the tenant, which was not referred to as a lease renewal but contained a renewal option at the end of the original term. And the tenant exercised the renewal option near the end of the lease period. At that time, the firm invoiced the property owner the remaining balance of $1,000 from the lease renewal agreement with the property owners, and the property owner informed the firm that respondent had already invoiced the property owner at the end of 2010, and the property owner had paid $1,000 to respondent directly as directed in the invoice. The check was made to respondent directly. The firm has no record of the payment. Respondent acknowledged by email to complainant that the second payment was made by the property owner and respondent deposited same. Respondent denies any wrongdoing. Respondent states that the property owner paid respondent as a two-part consulting fee with $1,000 up front, which was provided to the firm and part of which was dispersed to respondent. During the period of time between the first installment payment and the second, respondent states that the firm established a pattern of not charging brokerage for consulting fees and attached two commission split sheets where the firm distributed the full amounts received on two other matters and did not take a deduction for the firm. So respondent followed that practice by accepting the full second installment. Respondent denies anything improper due to the firm's course of dealings. Respondent also states that both installment checks from the property owner were made directly to respondent and not the firm, with the first turned over to the firm and respondent dispersed a percentage, and the second check kept by respondent due to the firm's course of dealings regarding other similar consulting transactions. Respondent states when the issue was brought to respondent's attention, respondent attempted to work out the issue by paying the entire second installment amount back. The recommendation is a consent order with a civil penalty of $250 for accepting a commission or any valuable consideration from any person except the licensed real estate broker with whom the licensee is affiliated in violation of Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62-13-312B11, plus attendance by respondent at one entire meeting of the commission within 180 days of respondent's execution of the consent order.
Move to adopt council's recommendation.
Second.
I have Commissioner McMullen and seconded by DeCharo. Do I hear any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. So my question is, what's the most we can find on a charge like this?
The range for this one, let me double check because I'm going to tell you wrong. The range of civil penalties for Section 62-13-312B, subsection 11, is $250 to $1,000. That is the range.
And why did you not recommend the full amount? I mean, this notion of people accepting compensation from people other than their brokers, to me, it appears becoming more and more of an issue.
And they're finding more and more ways to do it.
They're finding more and more ways to do it.
In this case, it appeared to me from the documentation that there may have been other issues between these parties, and this was something that I wasn't sure somebody hadn't been aware of before then. When it was brought to this person's attention, they paid the entire amount back and had no portion of it. They've moved on and are with another firm now, and I wasn't exactly sure of, that there was any need to find more since somebody had been given back. But that's, of course, up to the law. But it's
Just as a point of clarification, the agreement was with the firm, not the individual.
That's right. The agreement for to pay the $2,000 with $1,000 up front and $1,000 after, it was in the form of a letter signed by the property owner, but the actual named party in it was the firm, not Respondent. Respondent signed it.
So the firm was fully aware that this agreement existed.
Yes.
And the respondent, not the respondent, but the complainant.
The complainants were the principal brokers of the firm that had that agreement with the property owner.
It appeared to me clear that the complainants expected to get that second $1,000. When it didn't show up, they went back to the landlord and said, "Where's our $1,000?" And he said, "I've already given it to your agent. I just wrote it to him directly." Is that correct?
That's correct. The check was written directly, as it was the first time. So
you're clear that the agent then cashed the check, put it in his own account, bypassed his broker completely.
That's what he even admitted to in this. So if you,
I'd
Did
like
you get a copy of this company policy wherein they changed the way they do this?
There's a copy of the way that commissions are split, but as far as him claiming that in other practices that money had been kept in full, there's nothing written to that effect. There were just copies of two split sheets showing that the money came into the firm and the full amount was moved over to Respondent.
I want to say one more thing that I'd like to amend the motion if I can. If that happened in my office, I guarantee that agent would be working at another company by now, too. Okay? It wasn't like he just chose to go. I would assume these people showed him the door as quickly as they could. I'd like to amend the recommendation of council to a civil penalty of $1,000.
I'll second the amendment.
I have an amendment by Commissioner Grease and a second by Commissioner Alexander. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's go on.
That was on your amendment. Now you
Vote on the motion
That
as
was on
amended.
Okay, now on the motion as amended, the motion was by Commissioner McMullen. Did you have a second? You seconded it? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Remember?
Would be a $1,000 fine and civil penalty. Number 12.
Number 12, 2012-015-031. Complainant purchased a home in 2010 for which Respondent broker was the listing agent. Complainant was represented by another broker from another firm. Complainant states that in mid-2012, Complainant attempted to refinance Complainant's home and was advised by the lender that Respondent was featuring a listing for Complainant's home on Respondent's website, and therefore other third-party websites picked up the listing, even though Complainant's home is not and was never listed with Respondent. Complainant states that the matter was brought to Respondent's attention in early June 2012, approximately 18 months after Complainant purchased the property, and Respondent told Complainant the issue had been corrected. Complainant attached printouts from Respondent's website from several days earlier, which still included Complainant's home and others which Complainant says were not for sale. Respondent submitted a response stating that Respondent contracted with a third-party firm to administer the website, which Respondent states is infrequently used and not Respondent's primary source for marketing. Respondent states that the property was automatically placed on the website when listed in 2010, and Respondent assumed that it would be automatically removed when it was sold and was unaware it was still listed on the website until notified. At that point, Respondent claims to have unsuccessfully attempted to remove the listing and was unable to reach the website vendor, but the listing was removed approximately 1 month later. Respondent denies attempting attempting to market complainant's property during the period the home was on the website, and respondent was unaware that sold properties remained on the website, but claims the issue was corrected. Complainant submitted additional response disputing respondent's claims that this was an infrequently used site and respondent was not aware of the listings. Complainant states that respondent actively markets the subject website, listing it on respondent's Facebook page and on her other marketing materials. Finally, complainant claims that the lender denied the home refinance due to the fact that the property was listed for sale on respondent's website. The recommendation is a consent order with a civil penalty of $250 for misleading or untruthful advertising in violation of Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62-13-312B4 and misleading advertising, failing to keep listing information current and accurate in violation of Section 62-13-312B14 and Rule 1260-02-.12, subsection 2E and 4C, plus attendance by respondent at one entire meeting of the Commission within 180 days of respondent's execution of the consent order.
I'm sure there's going to be discussion.
Julie, was the respondent actively marketing the property?
There's nothing to show that it was listed on the website. There's no other information to show that it was featured as a listing on respondent's website. Is the
On
solid
his personal website or on Craigslist, or where was it?
personal website. Well, it's a website set up by that person. It's not through. It does not appear to be through the respondent's firm, but a website that was set up by that respondent for the purposes of marketing real estate services. It was listed at that point as a featured property.
So if you go and do a domain search on that website, this respondent personally, that's his personal website?
Well, it would be based on the information that's on there, yes. And this person doesn't appear to deny that it was their website. It says there was another party administering the site, but it was not like a ripped site. It was one that had been started by this respondent.
So it's more first generation, should be first generation?
It appears to be based on the way the website, I mean, it appears to have been set up by that person. Maybe it was not being administered by that individual, but it was set up by that person.
But it was, we get this all the time, where 18 months later, that it shows up still on the market. The house has been sold that you can't control.
Right, and that's why I was asking if it was first generation, because that's the policy we put into place, that if it's first generation, and you're responsible for that. But if it's, like you said, Craigslist, Truly or Zillow or something, you're not responsible.
Based on the information that I see there, it appears to be first generation.
Okay.
So do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept council's recommendation.
And you're going to leave it at the 250?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Tachara. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Baer. Commissioner Baer, Stevenson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 13.
13 and 14, 2012-015-101, 2012-015-102. Complainants were represented by Respondent 2, an affiliate broker, in the attempted purchase of a foreclosure property. Respondent 1 is the firm at which Respondent 2 is affiliated. Complainants made an initial offer on the subject foreclosure property and were informed that it was a multiple offer situation, so complainants completed a multiple offer form and verbally gave Respondent 2 a revised higher offer. Respondent 2 revised complainant's original contract to include the higher amount and told complainants that they had submitted everything necessary. After approximately 1 week, Respondent 2 informed complainants that there were 3 cash offers with owner-occupant buyers with no contingencies, and complainants did not get the property. At that time, complainants state they were told that the third offer, the winning offer, was submitted for a buyer who was represented by another licensee at Respondent 2's firm. Complainants believe that it is suspicious that 2 of the 3 offers were from the same firm and think someone may have been aware of their offer. Complainants state that another licensee was present and assisted Respondent 2 in preparing complainant's initial offer. The successful buyer of the property was represented by the principal broker of Respondent 1. Complainants state that although the successful buyer was represented as an owner-occupant, complainants believe that the buyer is an investor because the individual owns several properties, lives in a $259,000 home, and the subject property was a very damaged double-wide trailer. Finally, complainants state that the listing agent noted that an updated proof of funds was not submitted by Respondent 2 for complainants when complainant's second higher offer was submitted. Complainants believe that there was wrongdoing when the winning offer on the property was only $4,000 more than complainant's offer. Respondent 1's principal broker states that he was contacted by a potential buyer who viewed the subject property and made an offer. After being informed there were multiple offers, Respondent 1's principal broker's client was instructed to sign a multi-offer form and make their highest and best offer, which was done. Respondent 1's principal broker's client, whose bid was $4,000 more than complainant's offer, was named the high bidder and was awarded the contract. Respondent 1's principal broker stated at no time until after the contract was awarded to his client was he made aware that one of the other offers was from his office. Respondent 1's principal broker states that he was not aware of Respondent 2's involvement or what complainants offered until after the fact. Respondent 2 states that when complainants wanted to put an offer on the subject property, Respondent 2 asked another agent in the office who had 25 years of experience to assist with the offer. At that time, Respondent 2 states that complainants were told to submit their best offer. Initially, complainants offered $12,000 less than the list price, and when informed there were multiple offers, complainants offered $100 more than the list price. Respondent 2 states that Respondent 2 did not know who the other offers were from or how much the other offers were for, and the agent who assisted with the initial offer did not assist with complainant's final offer and was not the agent for the successful buyer. Based on the information contained within the file, there does not appear to be a violation of TREC statutes and/or rules on the part of respondents, and therefore the recommendation is to dismiss.
Any questions?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we accept council's recommendation and dismiss.
Got Commissioner Stevens and seconded by Commissioner McMullen. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed. Number 15.
15-2012-015181. Complainant was the attempted purchaser of a home who states that Respondent, principal broker, will not return complainant's earnest money. Complainant had a purchase and sale contract on a property, but complainant secured the wrong type of lender, and then another party ultimately bought the house. The purchase and sale contract signed by complainant specified that the agreement was not contingent on financing or appraisal and was as is where is. Respondent submitted a reply stating that the earnest money was held by the title company and therefore Respondent was not in possession of the earnest money. Respondent states that Respondent repeatedly tried to get the earnest money returned, but the title company would not release the money without a release from the seller. Eventually, Respondent states the asset manager agreed to return the money. The earnest money disbursement was signed, and ultimately the title company returned complainant's earnest money. Based on the information contained within the file, there does not appear to be a violation of TREC statutes and/or rules by Respondent, and therefore the recommendation is to dismiss.
Motion to dismiss. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 16.
16-2012-015551. Complainants allege that Respondent, an affiliate broker, violated complainants' rights by requiring complainants to use a certain title company in order to close on a short sale property. Complainants said that the title company which Respondent required them to use was more expensive and uses a less than desirable underwriter.
Motion to dismiss, because a lot of these companies, foreclosure companies, require you to use a certain mortgage company.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. The motion is to dismiss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 17 and 18.
17 and 18, 2012-015821 and 2012-015822. Complainant is a licensee who wanted to buy an REO property and who sought representation by Respondent 2, affiliate broker. Respondent 1 is Respondent 2's principal broker in handling the purchase because complainant is not a HUD agent. The property disclosure indicated plumbing pressure problems, and later it was found that the plumbing pipes had been removed from underneath the property. At that point, correspondence between complainant and Respondent 2 indicates that Respondent 2 had spoken with the listing broker who was unaware that the plumbing was missing, and complainant was given the impression that a credit would be given due to the fact that the property was not in the same condition as it was at the time of the offer. After a period of time, it appears that HUD made the determination that the pipes were missing from the beginning and would not allow complainant a credit, so complainant decided not to go through with the sale and requested a return of the earnest money. The earnest money check was paid to HUD from the beginning, and it appears that HUD initially refused to return the earnest money. It was later returned by HUD after this complaint was filed. Complainant alleges that Respondent 2 did not adequately represent complainant and failed to provide complainant with a copy of the executed sales contract on the day it was signed and failed to provide the property disclosure until after the sales contract was signed. Respondents 1 and 2 submitted responses stating that the copy of the sales contract was provided to complainant and the property disclosure agreements were discussed between complainant and Respondent 2, and complainant declined the documents because complainant had already seen them. Respondent 2 states that Respondent 2 assisted complainant with the subject property because complainant's license was expired. Complainant denies this, and Respondent 2 did everything that Respondent 2 could to assist complainant with the sale.
Second.
All in favor? opposed? Number 19.
2012-016-901. Complainants are the purchasers of a home who allege that respondent, affiliate broker, and the sellers of the home lied to complainants. Complainants state that the sellers did not properly fix issues identified in the inspection report, which complainants state that respondent told complainants would be addressed. Further, complainants state that respondents did not provide with complainants with several pages from the inspection report. It appears that complainants hired an attorney and filed suit against the sellers. Respondent and respondent's firm based on the same set of circumstances as the complaint. Respondent submitted a reply denying complainants' allegations and stating that the litigation filed by complainants is ongoing and stated that the matter should not be considered by TREC until the litigation is resolved. Based on information from the court clerk as of October 31st, 2012, the litigation is still open. Therefore, it is recommended that this matter be closed until the court's final resolution, at which point complainants may elect to refile this complaint. And therefore, the recommendation is to close.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
To accept
Okay,
council's
to accept council's recommendation.
By Commissioner Chara, and I have a second by Mr. Collins. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 20.
Number 20, 2012-017-151. Complainants purchased an REO property with respondent, principal broker as their broker. Complainants state that respondent did not represent complainant's best interest, lied to complainants, and misled complainants regarding respondent's commission. Complainants were told complainants must sign a contract for respondent's commission before their offer would be submitted, which provided that respondent would receive a 5% commission on the sale of the home. Complainants say they thought this was to be shared with the seller's broker. Complainant's offer was accepted and required inspection was performed, which required water to be turned on. And complainants state that they had to contact someone to get the water turned on because respondent told them it could not be done. After the inspection yielded information that a roof repair was needed, complainants state that respondent told them they needed to send $100 for the repair. But when respondents contacted the listing agent, the seller's agent told complainants it was the seller's responsibility and had the repair completed. Complainants state that respondent was unprofessional with them and in speaking about the listing agent. Complainants needed the help of the listing broker at times when respondent would not assist them. When complainants arrived in the stated location for the closing, complainants found the title company closed and found out that respondent was out of town attending a sick relative and the closing was set up in Florida. So the papers were faxed over and respondent's spouse, a licensee, assisted with the closing. After the closing, complainants were asked to write a check for respondent's additional commission and complainants refused. Complainants discovered the forms that respondent had complainants fill out were TAR forms and respondent and spouse were not TAR members. Later, complainants were served with a lawsuit filed by respondent for the unpaid commission. Respondent submitted a reply disputing complainant's allegations and stating that respondent worked hard to ensure that the sale closed for the complainants. Respondent states that the buyer's representation with the commission payment was fully explained to complainants.
Motion to dismiss.
I have a motion to dismiss with Commissioner Collins. Do I hear a second?
Reason being, we don't dictate commission.
Second.
I have a second.
I'd offer substitute motion. We continue hearing this complaint.
I would second that.
I have a substitute motion by Commissioner Grease and a second by, but I got to get rid of y'all's motion.
I withdraw it.
Okay. They both withdraw it.
Okay.
So all in favor of continuing to hear it?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's hear it.
Respondent states that the buyer representation agreement with the commission payment was explained fully to complainants and they understood and signed the agreement. Respondent denies complainants' allegations with regard to the water being turned on for inspection. With regard to the roof repair, respondent states there was a question of whether there would be an extension at that time and the roofer required $100, which respondent states that respondent paid because complainants refused and respondent was told there would be a delay in getting Freddie Mac to pay. Respondent states that complainants insisted on using an out-of-state bank and Freddie Mac used a title company in Florida which did not send the closing documents until the closing date to a company within the state, and respondent's office was not notified and believed the closing was at another location. Respondent states that respondent was not present for the closing due to the death of respondent's father that morning. Respondent states that respondent's office and respondent's spouse rushed to get the documents and handle the closing in order to be sure that the closing could be finalized that day. Respondent states that complainants failed to pay the additional commission after the closing and respondents were unpleasant. Respondent states that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac require the use of TAR firms in Tennessee transactions. Based on additional documentation submitted by the parties, it appears that the judge did not require the complainants to pay the additional commission. Based on the narratives describing the events submitted by the parties, it appears that this was a strained relationship by the time the transaction concluded, and the documentation in the file does not appear to evidence a violation of TREC statutes and/or rules by respondent, and therefore the recommendation is to dismiss.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner McMullen and a second by Commissioner Collins. All in favor?
Hang on.
Northern. Are there questions?
Just mixed up all now.
Well, I'm just hearing out of this ear, sorry. Maybe. Go ahead, John. We have questions?
For members of the commission who may know this answer, it says respondents state that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac required the use of TAR forms in Tennessee transactions.
No, they got their own form.
So that representation made by the respondent is not correct? Is that?
And
That's hearsay, though.
Well, what's hearsay? You or this?
This.
that's what the respondent
That's what the
said.
respondent said.
And at one point in an additional documentation, the respondent appears to claim that the respondent's spouse, who's also a licensee that handled the closing, is a member of some sort of association. I didn't verify that, but that was additional information that was provided to. I don't know if that was...
But it says that they are not TAR members, and the TAR forms are copyrighted.
We don't control the copyright.
Well, that's not the point. There's lies in this complaint here.
That's what I'm trying to say, yeah. And you can't dictate to HUD when they're going to close and who they're going to use to close. And you sign a document that you're buying it as is.
But HUD doesn't require TAR forms.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I am agreeing with you.
If you talk about HUD, you can't use a TAR.
No, you sure can't.
Well, let me ask it, follow up with that question. Is HUD, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac, or is that something? Are those? Because the respondent says they had to use TAR forms because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac required it. I don't know the answer to that question, but I'd like to know that.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac does not require. They have their own forms.
Thank you.
You agree with that, Mr. Collins?
I do.
So the representation by the respondents is not correct. That's my point.
Do we know whether or not the respondent offered up proof of that statement?
No, it was included in the response, and then, like I said, later on in the later response, this person claims, the respondent claims that the spouse is a member of an association of realtors here in Tennessee.
I would venture to say there are people in this audience who think that you've got to write a contract on the TAR contract.
Madam Chairman, what Commissioner Alexander just said, we are totally separate, have nothing to do with TAR. TAR, those of you who are members of TAR, only about 70% of the licensees in this state are members of TAR across this state. About 30 are not members of any association. We don't require anybody to use anything. You can use any contract you want to use. We don't dictate it. I'm a member of TAR, and I've never used TAR contract. You can write on napkin if you want to. But anyway, that's just...
Obviously, it was not a surprise to the complainant that it was a TAR form. They signed it.
Well,
so what's the issue?
I don't think that's the problem so much as this is just not, some of the facts in this complaint just are not accurate facts.
Also,
so I'm not sure that they're totally honest about how they're responding.
Also, adding a 5% commission on to HUD or Fannie Mae is, they've already passed that point. You can't do that. And the judge decided that too. They were just getting a little extra commission, and the judge said no.
Would one of you two like to review this?
I would not.
You would
There's nothing to review. There's no case.
Previous question.
Okay, well, the question was...
What was the motion?
The motion was dismiss, and we had a second. And I'm not sure who made the motion, I'm sorry.
I made the second. Austin made the motion.
Austin and, yeah, Mr. Northern.
I call for the question. It hadn't been called for.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Number 21.
2012-018181. Complaint against respondent affiliate broker based on what appears to be a mailing which was submitted to TREC. Said mailing is a copy of a typed piece, not a postcard, and appears to offer a fee for referring property to respondent if respondent buys the property. Respondent submitted a reply also signed by respondent's principal broker stating that respondent did not write, mail, or authorize said mailing, and the mailing was written and mailed by an overenthusiastic mass marketer who was trying to gain respondent's business. Respondent states that the matter has been addressed with the mass marketer and respondent will do everything possible to make sure this does not happen again. Therefore, the recommendation is to dismiss.
Any questions?
I make a motion we take council's recommendation and dismiss.
We have a motion by Commissioner Stevens, a second by Commissioner DeCharo. Sorry about that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 22 and 23.
22 and 23, 2012-018-581 and 2012-018-591. Complaints opened by TREC against respondent's spouses. Respondent 1 is a principal broker at one firm. Respondent 2 is a broker at another firm. Based on respondent's failure to satisfy an agreed citation sent to respondents for advertising violations. Specifically, an anonymous complaint was received which alleged that respondent 2's firm, at which respondent 1 was also formally affiliated, had a menu which included a telephone menu, which included information to press a certain number and be connected to respondent 1, who left that firm and formed a new firm last year. The anonymous complaint also alleged that respondents 1 and 2 advertised as though they are at both firms. Specifically, respondent 2's firm includes respondent 2 on its agent listing, which includes respondent 2's name, telephone number, cell and fax number, and link to email, as well as a photograph which includes respondent 2. Another individual is also in the photo. It is assumed this is respondent 1. Another web page from tenant.com for respondent 1's firm contains respondent 1's information but includes the same photo depicting respondent 1 and 2. Respondents submitted a response to the agreed citation disputing the citation, stating they were not aware that the photo was on respondent 2's firm's website and were not aware it was a problem since there was no mention of respondent 1. Despite their assertion on the website was not misleading, the photo has been replaced with a photo of only respondent 2. With regard to tenants.com, respondents claim they did not know the photo of both respondents was on the website and have tried to request that the photo be removed but have received no response. Respondents also claim that they have no control over the phone system at respondent 2's firm. Respondent 2's principal broker responded with regard to the phone issue, stating that respondent 1 left the firm to concentrate only on property management. At that time, respondent 1's license was removed, TREC release forms were submitted, and the firm ceased advertising property management services. However, due to continuing calls due to word of mouth, etc., respondent 1 was left on the phone system for ease in transferring those calls. Respondent 2's principal broker states that respondent 1's firm has an agency relationship with respondent 2's firm to manage some properties which remained with respondent 2's firm after respondent left to concentrate on property management. And respondent 2's principal broker does not believe that the rules prohibit listing business partners in the telephone menu. Therefore, the recommendation is to dismiss.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chairman,
Okay, questions, go ahead.
I second Commissioner McMullen's
Okay,
motion
Commissioner McMullen,
to
motion.
dismiss.
Seconded by Commissioner Stevens. All in favor?
Aye. What?
Is there
Question?
questions?
Well, yeah, the website, you said, appears that they are both still advertising together as if they're with one firm?
When the complaint said that they're advertising as if one firm, the photo that's there includes 2 people. I've never met them, but the allegation is that it's the 2 spouses together, although on both websites it only lists the information of the person who is properly affiliated with the firm whose page it is on. I hope I'm just right.
So it's a photo of 2 people
2 people,
only.
but it only has, on respondent 2's firm's webpage, it only had that spouse that is affiliated. There's information. There's 2 people in the picture.
They need to learn to use Photoshop and cut a person out.
Well, it has been corrected on that page, so.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
24 through 27, 2012-019-091, 2012-019-092, 2012-019-093, and 2012-019-201. Complainants attended a timeshare meeting where complainants met with respondents 2 and 3, timeshare salespersons, and respondent 1 is the timeshare registration, respondent 4 is the principal broker of respondents 2 and 3. Complainants state that they met with respondents 2 and 3 for 8 hours, during which time complainants were promised in writing that complainants would get a full refund of part of the salesman's commissions, that a foosball table would be delivered to complainants' room when complainants stayed at the resort. Further, complainants alleged they were told if they bought a timeshare, they would be guaranteed the use of a certain unit they were shown, and complainants could enjoy unlimited owners' nights at affiliate resorts for a reduced price. After completing the purchase and returning home, complainants found out they were not guaranteed the unit they viewed, and they were not entitled to unlimited owners' nights, that they did not receive the term of the partial commission from one salesman until after the date promised, and they did not receive hard copy of the public offering statement. Complainants state they received an old copy on a CD-ROM. Complainants unsuccessfully tried to rescind the contract several months after they purchased the timeshare, and therefore complainants filed suit against respondents. Responses were submitted on behalf of respondents stating that respondents complied with requirements for providing the public offering statement and provided copies of documentation showing complainants signed that they acknowledged receipt of the CD-ROM with the public offering statement and elected to receive, same in this format, and the paper copies of all closing documents. Further, respondents denied that complainants were promised a fixed unit or unlimited owners' nights, and respondents denied that material misrepresentations were made to complainants to enter into the purchase. Based on the information provided by counsel for respondents on October 31st, 2012, a civil complaint was filed by the complainants against respondents this year, and the case is currently active with discovery underway. Therefore, it is recommended this matter be closed until the court's final resolution, at which point complainants may elect to refile this complaint.
Move to accept counsel's recommendation.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Northern and seconded by McMullen. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 28.
2012-2011-8811. Truck open complaint based on auditor's attempted inspection of a respondent firm. The auditor attempted to inspect respondent on July 31st, 2012, but noted that respondent was not at the physical location on file with TREC. Additionally, the auditor's attempts to contact the phone by telephone were unsuccessful, with the person answering the phone stating that it was the wrong number. Respondent's principal broker's license expired in 2011. An agreed citation for failure to notify TREC of the principal broker's the firm change of address within 10 days, as required by Section 6213-309A3, was sent to respondent and its principal broker at multiple addresses, but all were returned unclaimed or box closed. Failure to satisfy the agreed citation resulted in opening this complaint. Based on the information contained within the file, it does not appear that the respondent is still operating, and therefore the recommendation is to close and flag.
Accept counsel's recommendation.
Second. Commissioner Northern moves to accept council's recommendation. DeCharo? 3 seconds. All in favor? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Julie. You did well. 10 after 11.
No, now, next on our agenda, we ain't breaking.
Yeah, we're not breaking.
Is the executive director's report.
I'm going to go fast here, just hit the highlights.
I told you to break.
Okay.
We're not going to break again. We're going to work right on through till we finish, and it won't be much longer. But I told you that you were several attendees that we were going to have you out here by 12 o'clock. And we are going to have you out of here before 12 o'clock. We're going to go through our executive director's report, and you're still in charge, Commissioner Haynes.
My question is, do we want to look at that? Or does that come with Eve?
No, you finished?
Oh, I'm sorry. If y'all don't have any questions, I just put it on there each month. It's just the update is all. If you have any questions,
Do you
Talk
want
loud, talk loud, Ms. Crop.
I don't know what that is.
That's part of.
It'll be part of Eve's then.
Oh, that's what
Okay.
that's where my report starts.
So you're,
Okay. All these papers are confusing us.
I know.
We don't have tabs, we don't have iPads.
Yeah. See how quickly you adapted to those iPads, though. It's amazing.
okay, here we go.
Okay.
That's really not entirely Steve. It's both of us.
I had her.
We're talking about the total, the complaint report, which is the 2 long pages, and do you have any long pages? 2 long pages and the short page.
You want to show them to us?
Yeah, this, the first one is total open complaints, and it's yours won't be read.
Got red letters in it.
Right. And
Ours aren't red.
yours aren't read. Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's the one that's on the back of Steve's report. That one. Okay.
So the total, the first page is the short page. I'll just start with that because that's probably easier if it's in that order. The first page just shows the open and closed complaint report by status. As you can see that we have closed in the fiscal year of 7/1 of 2012 to 6/30 of 2013. Thus far, as of October 31st, 2012, we've closed 87 complaints with no action. We referred one to an outside agency, and that one went to appraisers. We've closed three with a letter of warning and instruction. We've closed 12 with consent orders, and as of the 31st of October, we had not revoked any licenses. So the total closed complaints for the year to date is 103. And so we are making good progress. Our complaints over 180 days are sitting about at 90%, 90% not over 180 days, I should say. So we're doing well. Any that are over 180 days, there's a reason why they might still be there, but they've been dealt with by the commission on a regular basis, and we're hearing the complaints and getting people's complaints resolved as quickly as possible.
Now, if I could just say one thing, I was wrong. I made the statement earlier, I was talking to some of you back here, that about 80% of our complaints are dismissed. I was in error. Only about half of our complaints are closed with no action. When you factor in fiscal 2011 to June 2012 of this year, that 220 that were closed for the year, 118 were closed with no action, basically dismissed. But then when you add in the closed with consent order, closed with letter of warning or instruction, and revocation, it's about half of our complaints are dismissed with no action. So I was wrong.
Noted. Are you in charge?
No, I'm just making a comment as a commissioner. You're in charge.
One of the big sheets is complaints over 180 days, and then the civil penalties that we have gotten to date. As you can see, the complaints over 180 days are 24, and those have, like some reason. Some of them are waiting litigation, and then some of them or further investigation is being done. So there's a reason for all of the ones that are still out there. Our civil penalties that we received in October of this year, 15,990, and our total civil penalties received as of October 31st for the fiscal year are 91,847. Then our open complaints, we have a total of 115 open complaints. 7 of those are agreed citations, which normally, emanate from an audit, or if we get, say, an advertising violation in, that would be included in the citation number. By and large, the majority of our complaints come from consumers at this point, not fellow practitioners. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, it was sort of a different makeup. We had more from fellow practitioners than we did from consumers at some points, but that's gone back to the consumers filing more than fellow practitioners. Are there any complaints questions about the complaints? If not, we can move on to the statistics. Excuse me. And statistics, as soon as I find them here. The first page is the number of licensees as of 10/31/12. We have 23,780 active licensees. That's a decrease of 7 from last month. Our inactive licensees are up 5. We have 858. The retired licensees are down 131 to the number 9,446. There are 412 individuals in broker release. So our grand total of individual licensees that are brokers, timeshare, or affiliate brokers is 34,496, which is a decrease of 129. You can see our total firm number is a decrease of 13. We have 4,301 firms for a grand total of just firms and individual licenses of 38,797, which is a decrease of 142 from last month. If you go to the, I'm hitting the highlights. If you go to the additional statistics and go to the second page of those additional statistics, if you can find those, we ran a list for, can you find that? Okay.
It says page 2.
Right. We ran a list, we had, and I asked people to run a list for our E&O mailing. And so I went through there and tried to break down both the size of firms and the numbers of licensees that we had per rank in that list. So this is these numbers that you see at the top of page 2 are based on that sheet. So, they're approximations, but they're pretty close to the real number. Timeshare, we have approximately 994 licensees who are timeshares. We have approximately 16,343 affiliate brokers, 3,644 brokers, and 4,311 principal brokers. So that's roughly the breakdown of the individual numbers that were on the front page we just discussed. And I went through and I tried to count the size of firms based on number of licensees. And this was so I broke them down just into these categories: single, 10 or less people in the firm, 11 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100, and 100 plus. And so you can see that we have about 39% of our firms are single firms, meaning there's just one individual listed on, in our records. And then we have 49% that are 10 or less. We have 1,959 that are 10 or less, and only 1% that have 100 or over. That was just a piece of information that I thought
That's interesting.
might be interesting. And it is rough. I mean, I went through the list and counted them, so it's not an exact science, but it's pretty close, to what the breakdown would be. You are? You are indeed, yes, yes. But anyway, it's sort of an interesting breakdown. I don't know if there are other statistics on there. We have the number of applicants that we had for October on page 3, that we had 222 applications approved in October, and we had 273 individuals take the exams to become licensed. So the number of applicants approved is up from 2011, but the number of exams taken is down. So I don't know how that'll all shake out in the end, but it's down. The exams do vary, but it was down pretty substantially over a year ago, 273 to 384. Are there any other questions on that?
I'm trying to find the sheet you're singing off of. How many affiliates did we license last month?
How many did we license last month? Approved, I'm sorry. That's on page 3 of the additional statistics. The applications approved last month.
109. I found that sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner DeShara found it for me.
Just a curiosity, I like this kind of data. It's very interesting. Do you have a sense, or could you get for us, how many principal brokers run 2 offices?
We figured that up in the past. I would have to refigure it. With the time that the statute was passed, there were 189. That number's increased since that time. I would have to, we'd have to figure that out. But we did, it seems like not long ago, but I don't remember that. I just remember when the statute was passed, when the amendment was passed, we looked at it, was 189.
Nothing urgent, just curious.
Okay, well, yeah. I'll look that up and tell you next time. I don't think this is in y'all's, but it might be the licensee transfer request. We have, this might be the last time we have this piece of information, because the Lisa who answers our telephone is leaving to go to Homeland Security. So tomorrow's her last day. We're sort of sad about it. So we'll have temporaries in that position until that position is reevaluated, and the description of the job is they're making up new descriptions for all the jobs, and this one has to be reevaluated. It hasn't yet. We can't hire until that time that it is. So this might be the last month we get this, because she keeps this record of the licensee transfer requests. But we had 2,170 so far this year of licensees who've just requested a transfer. This doesn't include retirement. This is really this only one transaction. So we average about 241 transfers per month. And that's, as I say, just a requested transfer. So that's, as I say, that's a statistic that we like to keep, but I don't know if we'll be keeping it any longer for a while. The next thing is just an E&O update. We sent out a letter. We have a letter, I should say, ready to send out by Media Services that will go out to 25,296 licensees. The front part will be a letter that, basically says the policy's expiring, you need to renew it before 12/31, and then the other side of it is the policy itself, so that everyone can see what the policy says, and then the letter just is a short letter that fits in the window size, the window size part of the envelope, right below that. And that is being printed by Media Services and will be going out as soon as the contract is approved by Central Procurement. As you know, Rice got the contract. The bid price was $249 for the 2-year policy. The policy contains some additional provisions that it hadn't contained in the past that added in some sub-limits for lockboxes, escrows. So some things that have previously been done by endorsement are now covered within the policy in a much smaller sub-limit, but it's still in there. That will go out to the licensees. Rice will send it out to the licensees as soon as they likewise get the word that Central Procurement has approved it. As of yesterday, they had not. So it's been signed by the state, it's been signed by Rice, but the Central Procurement Office has to approve it as well. So.
Madam Chairman, if I could, what Ms. Maxwell was just talking about, all you licensees, by December the 31st of this year, those of you that want to buy the state E&O policy through Rice is $249 that must be paid, because our statute says that every active licensee shall carry Arizona Emissions Insurance. And by December the 31st, go ahead and budget $249 and make a payment to Rice Insurance to get you an E&O for a 2-year policy. Just want to remind you of that.
And look at that policy. Read it and see what's in it.
I do really, because there are some additions this year. The commission had some things added to the policy, and then, as I say, Rice has added some additional provisions in the policy. So it is very important that you read it and see what is covered, what's not covered, and how much your coverage is, and whether you want to get additional coverages, whether you want your firm to get additional coverages. You need to consider all of those things before you get too far along in the process. The next item is the budget information, and I had sent the budget information in an email to the commissioners along with the cost back and how they're figured up. I don't know if there are any questions about the budget. This was the year-end sort of summary that we get that should be the final year-end for the fiscal year 11 to 12, and then it shows the year 8, 9, 10, and 10, 11 as well.
How many employees are we down?
We're down, from when I started, we're down 8 employees. And then that doesn't count Kelly, and it doesn't count Bill Stewart retiring, so that's just employees who are in the, in our office, in the location of our office. And then Lisa, that doesn't count Lisa, is leaving tomorrow, and, Kelly's gone for 4 months.
And so none of those are going to be replaced?
We'll be able to replace Lisa only, but not until that position is evaluated and the new job description is written for it. Then we'll be able to advertise for that on the state website. But right now it hasn't been evaluated, and as of last Friday, they weren't sure when it was going to be evaluated. So we can't hire until that occurs.
So is that a way just to not give you an employee?
Well, I don't know, I've asked, well, no, I think that I know that they have to go through this process of, rewriting all these classifications and the way the jobs are described. I've requested that we have 2 temporary employees, one who will answer the phone, and then one who will sort of float and do some of Kelly's things, and then just some other, things that need to be done. And I haven't heard back from that. I sent that up, I met with Bill last Wednesday, I think, and then I sent that up on Friday I asked personnel where they stood with the reevaluation process, and then I sent a request up on Friday, both to unfreeze the clerk 3 position when the description is available and they can do that, and then to get 2 temporary employees in the meantime. So I haven't heard back from that, but that should be making its way through the process.
So does each job have a description that, or do you have to reevaluate that job every time somebody gets ready to leave?
No, this is, there's a whole evaluation of apparently every job going on throughout the state. And, some have been done and some haven't been done. And so it's just like the licensing techs have been reevaluated and they've written new description for those. But this just happens to be one of the ones that has not had a new description written for it and hasn't been evaluated. Like Dennis was in a meeting 2 days last week, I think, where they were reevaluating some of the, like assistant supervisor jobs and things of that nature. So they're, it's kind of a slow process as they go through and make sure that the jobs include, I think, everything that should be included and take out things that are outdated. So anyway, so hopefully we'll at least get some temporary employees and they'll get that description done and we can get a person who answers the phone. Because that person's really a much more valuable asset than, you might realize when you first are there. She directs a lot of the stuff that goes on.
Probably the biggest complaint I've heard from licensees is talking to the person on the phone. And it's just real important.
Right, it is. And the person answering the phone sort of, is the conductor of what goes on. And so it's really an important function. And she's done a great job. We hate to lose her, but Homeland Security, I guess, was calling with more money, perhaps. I'm sure.
Any of the commissioners have something?
What? We are short an auditor. I've broken down how many firms are in each location again to see if maybe we can better use the auditors. The way it is now, there's a lot of travel involved, and it may be more efficient if we move someone else closer to the mid-state, because the mid-state remains the largest area with 900 and some odd firms, and you can't do much with Williamson-Davidson County just because they're so close together. And right now, West Tennessee has Montgomery County, which is Clarksville, and that's just sort of a long way. But Clarksville has like 97 firms, so adding them to Middle Tennessee just bumps that up more. So I've talked briefly to Bill about maybe moving an auditor closer to Nashville and splitting up some of the southern part of the Middle Tennessee, and maybe trying to get another Middle Tennessee auditor to do more the northern part, middle to northern part. And I think that would be a better use of the auditors. The auditors are very time-consuming right now. They have some issues, and so we follow them daily on a field force manager that tracks where they are all the time during the day. So it's anyway. So the auditors. So hopefully we can figure out a way to make the most efficient use of that resource that the commission has. So we are short. The long answer is we're short an auditor.
Any other questions from commissioners about the budget?
And then the file reduction, we're just, we're moving all our files our active files to storage. So we've got about 900 boxes sitting in our office right now that we have to log into Richards & Richards, and they'll come pick up the boxes and take them away. And that will free up the 2 file rooms that we have that cost us about $23,000 a year. So that'll, at least we'll get those out of the way. We had everybody in the office work for an hour each day packing boxes so that we could get them all packed. And now, as I said, we have to go through and check all the names and then enter them into the system for Richards & Richards, and we'll put a barcode in and they'll come pick them up, and we'll get all that done too. Mm-hmm. So we're making progress on that. And that's about all I have. The Christmas lunch, we'll have to work on some of those suggestions, and if anyone has any suggestions about where to go, since that's next month, we're open to those suggestions.
I think you know how we feel. We made it clear in Chattanooga, wherever staff wants to go,
right,
that's where we're going to go, and we want to, how we feel about
right.
what the staff does for us and all of our licensees, the job that all of you do. We love treating you at Christmas, so wherever y'all want to go is fine with us.
Well, thank you. As I say, that the staff really does appreciate that and looks forward to that every year.
Mr. Chairman, one of the concerns we go ahead. One of the concerns we talked about is having it on Wednesday when we have a hearing, or having it on Thursday, which would be like today, then we would leave to go. And I know several of the commissioners have ways to drive, so you might tell Eve what your preferences are.
I don't care. Whatever y'all want to do, I'm fine with me.
We got a formal hearing next month.
We do have one scheduled.
And sometimes Christmas lunch takes a little longer than,
Yeah, have it Thursday. Let's get that. I mean, it's kind of hard to go and get back if we got a formal hearing with the, with the judge and everything. I think Thursday's a better day, and, if we leave 2 or 3 o'clock, those of us can have plenty of time to get where we're going.
And then I'll email each of you all with the dates for the Aurellos, like the next couple of meetings, conferences, so that you can sort of look at your calendars, and then maybe next month see who wants to go where, would like to request to go where, and that way you'll have it right in the email, and you can look at your calendar and see what might suit you.
Why don't we just poll the commissioners to see if Wednesday or Thursday is best for them, pending whether or not the hearing takes place. I'm with you. I like Thursday.
okay, who likes Thursday? Raise their hand.
John don't care.
I don't care.
Nobody.
Okay.
Thursday's a day then.
We'll shoot for Thursday then.
Okay.
She needed
But if anybody wants and has any suggestions, please let us know that as well. That was all I had.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Bear.
Okay. I think the last thing on there's one thing that next month that I want us to put on the agenda we're going to talk about is our auditors and how we audit firms in Tennessee. Maybe we've been doing it this way for all those so many years. I don't know how many years the way we've been doing it, but Commissioner Giannini wanted us to consider perhaps trying to determine if there might be a better way that would be a more efficient way and more of a cost-effective way to audit the firms across the state and make sure that there's no misbehaving going on. But anyway, we'll talk about that in December.
Well, could Eve get us how long we've been doing it this way, why we've been doing it this way, and what other boards do in this capacity?
I will be talking to
Okay.
Eve between now and the next meeting. I know we've been doing it this way for 30 years.
Yeah.
Because since I've been in business with my firm. Next on, yes, Commissioner.
With regards to that, given the number, or the shortage of manpower in that department, it might be good and timely at this point if we consider some sort of self-evaluation for firms that could be sent out. It could also be a training tool for firms. When they see the questions, they know that certain things need to be in place, so that when the auditors show up, if they show up, things are there. So we could do a sort of a self-monitoring and send that information in.
The reason I wanted to mention that this month, so we can discuss it next month, is for all of you be thinking about, is there a better way for us to do what we've been doing? Because I remember something one time a fellow said, Terry Evans, he said, if you always do what you've always done, you're going to always get what you always got. So, I mean, maybe there's a better way in this modern 21st century. I don't know. Anyway, Commissioner Giannini wanted us to just talk about it and discuss it. We have commissioner reports. Commissioner Alexander.
I have no report.
Commissioner Grease.
No report.
Commissioner DeShaw.
Well, I actually have a couple of things. There is an author who is sending books to Afghanistan to troops that helps them reintegrate with their families as they come home. If you would like to sponsor one of those books, it's $5 per book. If you would like to do that, you can give me your money and your business card, and it will be included to the troops. Also, I'd like to wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving, and please be careful during the holidays.
Commissioner Northern.
Just like to say to those in attendance, I hope this has been a learning experience for you. We often learn from you all when you're here, sometimes based on your responses, the way you look at us when we do certain things. But again, hope you enjoyed your 2 days with us, and hope you don't have to come back again. I hope you come back voluntarily.
Mr. Collins.
I'd like to compliment the staff on an outstanding job, and due to the fact that they're shorthanded and they can always continue to stay on top of it. Thank you.
Mr. McMullen. Mr. Haynes.
I want to second what Grover said. I think the staff has just done an excellent job in shorthandedness. It's just amazing to me how you get it all done. Thank you.
I have a couple of things. First one is, I doubt anybody out here knows exactly how we're compensated. The 9 of us that's on this real estate commission, we are on here to record. We serve at the pleasure of the governor. We're all appointed by the governor. We serve 5-year terms. You can only serve 2 consecutive 5-year terms, and you have to come off the commission. But we do this for the money. We are paid $50 a day for serving on this commission.
Only for the days you're here.
Yeah, just for the days we're here.
Every day.
Yeah, for the days that we are here. We made $50 yesterday, we made $50 today. We ain't going to make no more money this month. But anyway, we do it for the love of the industry and being able to give back and have an opportunity to interact with so many every month that come. I want you to take what you have learned back to your firms and share it with your licensees that are in your individual firms and that you board. Just let them know and spread the word. E&O by the end of the year, 249. And those of you that are members of TAR, you're going to have those dues too by the end of the year. So just budget for those. Bills, they are. Well, I hadn't gotten mine yet. But, and secondly, I want to say, Commissioner McMullen, Governor Haslam knew what he was doing. I don't know if he appointed you on this commission for you or whether he appointed you to this commission because of us. Because we needed help. But you went above and beyond the call of duty yesterday in stepping up to the plate. You didn't step up to you stepped up to the plate and you hit a grand slam home run. The way you helped us through and led us through in our thinking and doing everything in our final resolution of the matter yesterday. And I just want to say thank you, and all of us say thank you for what you did. I'm serious. You did a whale of a job. And I want at this time I want Commissioner Grease to come over here.
Wait just a minute.
What?
I just wanted to follow up one thing you said about Commissioner McMullen. The reason everybody's applauding, if he hadn't taken the lead yesterday, we'd be here at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We appreciate that.
And I want you, Commissioner Grease, to come over here. Stand up and walk over here to me.
Oh, God.
At least he did stand up.
At least I can't thank you. Hey, I've been pinned.
I found out yesterday that we have pins. Tennessee.
I can do that.
Okay, put that on. I'm on this. Bam.
I'm not sure Austin has.
I have one. I just always forget it.
Yeah, but anyway, I found out last night Commissioner Grease, no, at lunch yesterday, Commissioner Grease does not have a Tennessee Real Estate Commission pin. Well, I have 2. I got one back in my closet on another coat, but you have one now.
You're official.
Commissioner Grease.
I bypass security now?
Yeah, you can bypass security.
Only up at the building.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're quite welcome. But, like I say, I hope all of you have learned something, have a safe trip home, and Steve McDonald, you would like to tell him before I hit this gavel?
Yes. Licensees, you have your attendance certificates for today. You pick those up on the way out. Make sure you sign the sign-out sheet on the way. I'll take them to Betsy. She'll either reinstate or stamp your library card or wherever you need to today. Please be careful going home. Wear seatbelt.
You have gotten 8 hours of continuing education by being here yesterday and today. Have a safe trip home.